Hey guys, welcome to this next episode of Edenic Round Table. As you can see, we're in a different environment to the last one, given the situation we're having here in the UK. Everyone's on lockdown, as many other countries around the world are experiencing the same. So we've come up with a new concept, the roundtable, the virtual sessions, and these are what they're going to be like going forward. As you can see, we're using MS Teams here to communicate and work with each other. And there's a big benefit in that because it allows you to record the sessions. So we thought, well, why not use it and continue our roundtable sessions? I'm Willis. I'm joined here with Rob and Jamie, my partners at Edenic Group. For those that don't know, Edenic is an innovation consultancy. We work with businesses and organizations around the world, helping them develop their innovation strategies and accomplishing our 3Ds, which is be disruptive, embrace digital, and think differently. And in the spirit of embracing digital, that's why we're doing this. You know, we are on lockdown and we are at home, but it doesn't mean that we can't continue to work. And this pandemic that we're in, COVID-19, or coronavirus as others know it, highlights an opportunity really for us to think differently about what's going on, not only in our work environment, but in our everyday lives. And we thought that those would be some of the topics that would be worth us discussing. So hopefully today, really, we just want to introduce what we're all about and what we're doing. But hopefully we're going to be launching one of these every day where we can discuss different topics and different barriers that people are facing. And some of the changes that might come off the back of something quite awful might produce something quite positive. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. So hi guys, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Hi, James. Jamie, even. Hi, Wayne. Jeez, sorry.
I just want to stress to everyone, Jamie also has a creative consultancy called Gravitas, and we was joking about this before we came on. You'll see he's getting all the promo out there. He's got the hoodie on and the wall poster behind him, and the raw recommendation for agencies.
I think you've got it flaunted, you know.
Yeah, I do feel there's a little bit of that going on, but why not? Why not promote it? So guys, how are we feeling in light of what's going on? You know, it's weird, but I'm feeling still quite positive. What about you?
I think it is a weird situation, and it does require you to think quite differently about how you work, how you maintain your productivity. But I kind of like that. I like the fact that it's kind of forced me to be a little bit, different in the way that I think about the work I'm doing. So I think we had a conversation yesterday, and Rob, you kind of raised that point. I think it's a great opportunity for people to think differently, and that's kind of how I'm trying to see this situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, it's massive shock all over the media, so it's very disconcerting from that point of view. But I mean, clearly, we're obviously we know from our own client base that people are kind of shutting up shop a little bit, but we're now starting to see signs that people are getting to work with the new reality, and let's be positive about it. We know that we can make things happen. We're showing how we can use technology to talk to each other here. I think it'll work absolutely fine. So let's get on with things.
Yeah. I mean, we say to all of our clients, it's one of the big things that we try to push as part of our innovation strategy is to embrace digital. I mean, and the last roundtable we did, the very first one we recorded, was all about that, wasn't it? Why businesses should be embracing digital and the positivity and the opportunity that comes with using what's here, the internet and all the software and the technology and hardware and all the things that we can use to make things easier, make it quicker, make it better, cheaper, increase opportunity. Of course, now we're sort of forced into that a little bit because of this pandemic, but in a way that could end up being a positive out the end of all this, do you not think?
Absolutely. No, it's forcing people to do things differently, which, as you said, is part of our raison d'etre. We want to help companies think differently, and this is a great demonstration of how you can make that work for yourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think right now people are looking at some of these tools and these digital options for survival, but actually embracing them and having them for the future is a great way to actually grow as well. So I think right now it's a case of just getting the job done, but I think this mentality and these ways of working actually are a great thing for every business to adopt anyway.
Yeah. It's highlighting a lot of issues though, isn't it? And hopefully we're going to, as we do these daily updates, we're thinking for you guys listening at home that we're going to try and talk about each of these barriers or opportunities or whatever it might be that come off the back of this, and how things might look at the end of this whole pandemic, and really seize the day to some extent, see this as an opportunity to do new things. There's a couple of topics that we've been talking about yesterday. Education's a big one. Obviously, all the schools are off. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing some incredibly creative teaching and learning going on, because there's, traditionally, how does school work? We go to school, we spend 7 hours in a classroom with 20 or 30 other kids, the teacher, we follow a curriculum, and that is the process, which arguably is not really suited to today's working world. So this could be a catalyst just to change that. I mean, you've got parents teaching, people are learning online. A real opportunity for education, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I've got 3 school kids who are all in secondary school age, and they're all at school at the moment. And one of my children, who I won't name, has been in trouble quite often at school. But she's happily doing online education. She's just been doing some science with one of her friends using FaceTime. So, like, for her, I think it probably suits her not being in a more face-to-face confrontational environment where she's in front of a teacher. So it's really interesting. Whether she maintains that interest for the next 6 months remains to be seen. But hey, so far so good.
The other big one is healthcare as well. Obviously, everyone will be seeing it on the news. The NHS is under a lot of pressure right now. To be fair, the NHS is always under a lot of pressure because it's a free service that's looking after 65 million people, and it needs all the support it can get. That I think we would all agree. But in moments like this, where it really comes under strain, you really start to see where the opportunities might be to aid that along, not just in crisis like this, but actually in everyday life, probably.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think this really highlights 2 really important things. And obviously, we do a lot of workshops and work a lot with people in the healthcare industry. And one of the things that we always tend to talk about is preventative health and people sort of taking more responsibility for their own healthcare. And I think in a situation like this, it's been something that's been repeated over and over again on the news. Don't just go to A&E, don't ring, emergency services if it's not necessary. And there's been tools out there for ages like Babylon and I saw a couple of new ones the other day actually, where you can get that support and get that help for maybe minor ailments and things without burdening the NHS, and even preventative health, taking more care of our health to avoid us getting to that position. So I think although it's been something people push for a long time, now it's really highlighting why it's important that people sort of start looking at that, and obviously the effect that then has on the NHS afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is obviously a 10-hour podcast topic, health in itself in a pandemic situation. So let's not go too deep into it. But clearly there's a huge opportunity to, as Jamie said, interact with telemedicine, reduce the risk of exposure to people in the healthcare sector. That goes way beyond COVID-19, and there are lots of infectious diseases out there. The best way to catch a cold is to sit in a doctor's surgery. You can access health very satisfactorily through telemedicine. And we've just read in the Guardian just 20 minutes ago that in the UK they're going to make millions of COVID tests available to the population. So again, it's a great example of remote health. So they're looking to partner with Amazon to distribute that. So it means rather than going to a GP or a hospital to get yourself tested, you can do that through the post effectively with a rapid diagnostic in your own home. So that's a really great example of how people are adapting and doing things quickly. I've also seen in other news, and I don't want to take this all over with health, but the MHRA, who are the regulatory body in this country, are actually relaxing some of the obstacles to getting medical devices to the market. So a ventilator is a medical device, so they've just announced that they will be making a fast track route for these new ventilators to get into patients' hands. So it just shows you we can be inventive and do things quickly if we're given the right stimulus. And in this case, unfortunately, it's a pandemic, but in other cases, you can use more positive stimulus to come up with these solutions. So it's a great example of ingenuity.
Yeah, it's really cool in terms of community as well. I mean, not just on health, but it relates to it. The NHS has called for 250,000 volunteers to help support them in various different ways. Those that are fit and well that can volunteer and come and help and support in some way. And they've been inundated, and rightly so. But we were saying earlier on, everyone's on lockdown right now, so everybody's at home. and pretty much everyone's taking their stroll around the block every day to do their one allocated bit of exercise or whatever. But actually, most of us don't really know our neighbours to some extent, or we know very few of them at least. So this could be an opportunity as well to really increase that community engagement, working together, understanding each other, helping each other. We're seeing it where people are going and picking up each other's shopping or going to the pharmacy for them or whatever. So again, this is a needs must because we're in a weird situation, but actually this could be the catalyst for a whole future, certainly not a utopia, but definitely a way of bringing communities together and doing more to.
I think this whole reflection on health and the sort of danger and anxiety that it brings, it makes people have more empathy for each other. I mean, normally you see this classically at Christmas. Like on Christmas Eve, you go in the pub, everyone's buying each other drinks, everyone's slapping each other on the back, everyone's nice to each other. It extends to Christmas Day, but pretty much by Boxing Day and the New Year sales, it's all gone a bit ragged. But we're going to be in an extended period of people having that empathy for each other, and that could potentially have a societal change, which is probably a really good thing. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing around community and how we empathise with each other when we think about each other's situations, which is really positive.
Yeah, I think what's good as well is seeing how some of the businesses have responded to this as well. So we're seeing like obviously individuals in the community sort of do their bit and try to help the neighbours out, but a lot of businesses, and I see it on Facebook all the time, people offering things to help the community, offering things for free. We were talking the other day about Brewdog have basically turned their distillery place into hand sanitizer, bottling plants, things. And I think all those things are just really great examples of everyone coming together when there's a situation like this. Hopefully it just kind of carries on afterwards and we don't have basically the Boxing Day sort of experience afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, but that's great, isn't it? I mean, again, we were saying yesterday that there's the whole thing with if we talk about food's another one, supply chain, that's a big one, the whole panic buying thing, stuff like that. But, they are starting to get a grip on this. And, supermarket chains, particularly like Morrison's, who have come up with these food parcels now, where you pay like 30 quid and you get either a meat one or a vegetarian one. And, it's just essentially a box of a ration, if you like, of essentials for your household. But they've partnered with DPD as a logistics provider to take that out to as many customers as possible, for those that can't get the delivery slots. And, frankly, most of us, we're going to be all right in terms of we don't need the big Friday shop or whatever. We just need to be able to survive and get through, and these little initiatives away. So all of these chains and brands are all coming up with new ways to offer what they're doing, which is essentially what we're all about and what we do with our client base. But again, this pandemic, for those that are watching, really see this as an opportunity because you're forced to think differently now anyway, because you're probably not doing business as usual and you're probably not living as usual. And maybe that's take the disease side away from it, which is awful. On the other side of it, maybe this is a good thing because in terms of a catalyst for change, and that's really what we need. A few of the things were talked about: climate change. Obviously, people are flying less, driving less, buying less. So consumerism's down. The earth is taking a bit of a breather right now. I saw a graph above China yesterday, which was showing like the pollution that was coming out of it was substantially less because there was not much production going on. And the question is at the end of this, do we just go back, as you say, Jamie, do we go to Boxing Day? Do we just go back and just say, okay, the sales starts again, let's go crazy? Or do we say, well, look where we've got to. Now, how can we maintain this and keep it low in terms of either climate or whatever else it might be? So there's some real opportunities to come out of that. Mental health is a big one as well, isn't it, Rob? You touched upon that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we all live fairly anxious lives because we're all reading about stuff all the time, but clearly we're now being bombarded with things that are making us feel very anxious. If we're parents, we're worried about our family. If we're employees, we're worried about paying our employees. If we're children, we must be looking at the world thinking, wow, this is a real life-changing moment for me. So, that all of that has a potentially negative effects on mental health, especially when you can't do the classic things you would do, like go and play football with your mates, go outside and see your friends, go to the pub, have a drink. All of that's taken away. So that there is we need some form of safety net to keep looking after these people. And if we're all locked inside our family group, the people we live with, then that's going to get pretty old pretty quickly, I would imagine. I mean, we're very early into it in the UK here, but all of this stuff's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And in reality, we could all get a lot closer to each other because we've spent a lot of time and we work out ways to live with each other in a more harmonious way, not just sit in different rooms watching Netflix and all different channels and different devices in every room. So I think all that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great time to develop as well. If your staff are at home and you can facilitate them to use things like, look, we're on MS Teams, but you can be using Zoom, or there's loads of video conferencing out there, but there's YouTube, there's a cat there.
No respect.
See, this is what happens when you work from home, all right? So, but yeah, like there's free tools out there, so your staff can be upskilling, they can be learning, they can be thinking creatively about how they do their role, and also how they can better and adapt your company for situations like this. So this would be a really good time to truly think differently about what your offer is, and also how prepared you are, how resilient you are to stop yourself from being disrupted. Right now, you're being disrupted by a pandemic, which is awful, and hopefully once, maybe never in a lifetime, for most. But actually, this is happening all the time in business as usual. You talk about Netflix or Uber or all the big ones. Those are all big disruptors, and legacy companies are trying hard to survive and stay in the chain. So you need to be doing this anyway, thinking how you can be disruptive, how you can embrace digital technology, and how you can change your offer of what you're doing. I can only stress that this is a really good opportunity to do that. While we're all panicking, to some extent, we need to sort of take a step back and take a breath and have a rethink. And we're going to touch upon some of these specifics and some of the topics as we do these daily updates. So today, really, we just wanted to introduce it and explain kind of what we're going to be doing. A big one to consider as well on the subject of lockdown is kind of our responsibility as individuals. So we're fortunate in the UK and in most of the Western world to live in a democracy, and we can pretty much do what we like. We're pretty free. But with that, I think comes an element of responsibility that we all have. And that's currently, it's a responsibility to the health system, a responsibility to look after each other, responsibility to look after our staff, and so on and so on. And, we start to develop these, and these are highlighted as we go through this pandemic. So it'll be interesting to touch upon some of the politics of that as we go through. But mainly our updates are going to be about what you can do to leverage this as a business and come out the other side stronger and better. Chaps, anything further to add on that for the people at home?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned yesterday, but I'd really like to see some people sending us some examples of how they're seeing things differently, or what they're doing with their businesses, how they're getting through this time. Any positives that have come out of the situation as well, like has it helped them develop a new service or a new idea by having to think differently?
Yeah,
I agree, Jamie. It'd be great for people to see examples of things that they're seeing coming out. Wade mentioned what Morrison's are doing, partnering with DPD. We're seeing also these examples every day. So let's highlight some of those as we move forward as well, because it shows how different, how being forced to think differently gives some decent results.
Yeah. So if you're watching at home and you fancy being part of one of these roundtable events, we'll send you a link. You just come on a video call like this, and we'll just talk about it. We really want to hear from you. So if it's something that you'd like to contribute to, please just leave a comment in the comments below and let us know, and we'll get in contact. But I'm really interested. I'm interested to know what people are doing, especially if you're in a physical type environment, if you're in manufacturing or logistics or some sort of thing where construction's a big topic right now. How do you navigate that? I'd be interested to know what business leaders are doing and how they're navigating it. And again, sharing ideas and collaborating like this is how we can all move forward. And we're definitely keen to give you some of our specific insights about what you can be doing at home with your staff using technology to be having ideation sessions and running quick sprints around barriers. The biggest barrier of all right now, a pandemic. So this will be really interesting, the topics moving forward. So we look forward to uploading these every day. Stay tuned, keep watching, and if you want to be part of it, drop us a comment. In the meantime, thanks boys, thanks for coming on the call. And if you're at home, be safe, stay at home, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye.